All right, in this video, we're going to work through problem number 1. It says a dog kennel boards dogs at a cost of 50 cents per pound per day. Use the model view controller pattern, and that's loosely speaking, right? Write a JavaFX application that allows a user to enter a dog's weight and the number of days to be boarded, and then displays the total price for boarding. As an example, the price to board a dog weighing 47 pounds for 3 days would be $70.50. All of the information entered by the user should be stored in the model. The model should be a separate class containing fields named weight, number, and price. Okay, so first off, I'm going to use Scene Builder here. I'm going to go with a just pane in here to start off with. And then I'm going to have a couple of labels. A couple of text fields. A button. And I'll use a text area here to display the results. All right, here I'll put days. Here I'll put weight. Okay, and then things I want to be able to manipulate are this text field here, this one here, the button, and this text area. So for the text area, I'm just going to give it an FXID. I'm going to call it text area. For the button, I'm going to give it an FXID button, and an on action, I'm just going to call it handle button. For this text field, I'm going to call it days field. And then I'm not going to set an on action. It didn't really say, so I'm just going to try to keep this one simple and just go with the button triggering all of the action here. But you could add an on action if you want to do that. I'm going to call the second field the weight field. And again, I'm going to leave no on action here. I'm just going to have it on the button. All right. So I think I've got everything there. Button. Yes, yes, yes. All right. So all of that looks good. I'm going to set the controller. On this one, I'm going to call it boarding FXML. All right, I'm going to save that. All right, next up, I am going to, yeah, okay, set that, yeah, I totally don't want that there. That needs to be boarding controller. That's the name of the controller there. So I'm going to go ahead and change that to boarding controller and then resave it. And then, okay, yeah, no, that looks fine. All right. So then show sample controller skeleton. I'm going to save that as boarding controller.java. So all of that looks good. All right, so now in JGrasp, compile that. Looks okay. All right, so next up I'm going to start working on the main part of the app. So import javafx.application import javafx.stage.stage, import javafx.scene.scene, import javafx.scene.layout.pane, import javafx.fxml.fxml and import java.io.io_exception. All right, and now the class header, and don't forget to extends application here. It's a child class of the application class, and then the start method. So public void start stage. All right, next up is I need a root component here, and that's fxml loader.load, and that's going to be get class dot get resource, and then the name of the fxml file, which is just boarding fxml.java. And that's going to have a checked exception, an IO exception. Here, just for the purposes of keeping things simple, I am just going to put throws IO exception here. And so with the catch or declare rule, I'm just going to declare it later on. You can change that. Okay. And then I take that and create a scene. And then I set the scene with in the stage. And then stage.show. And that should be enough. Oops, no, something's not right there. All right, so just check my controller. Maybe it's that my controller is not compiled. All right. No, that's something else. Let's see, boarding. Oh, I put .java. Yeah, okay, it's .fxml, so wrong name there. Okay, so there we go, right? That's what it looks like. Next up, let's start working on the controller. And we need to go into that event handling method for the button over here. So inside the controller, that's here. So what we want to do is to get that the information out of the weight field and the days field. So I'm gonna the information is going to come out of there as a string. So days string equals days field dot get text, and weight field equals weight string rather equals weight field dot get text. So that gets any text that is in those text fields that the user entered. Next up, we want to convert those to numerical values, I'm just going to go with double. So double days equals, that's going to be double dot parse double on days string. So that does the conversion. And that converts the weight string to weight, to a numeric value. Then we calculate the price. So that's 0.5 times days times weight, right, on that one. And then what we want to do is to take that price and put it into the text area. So, and so what we would do is text area dot set text, and then the price. So that would be dollar sign, however you want to do that, price, dollar sign, and then a percent, comma, 0.2f, and give it the price. And oops, that's going to be string dot format there. Okay, let's try that and see if it works. All right, in the little test case I gave, it was 47 pounds for 3 days. 47 pounds for 3 days. So $70.50. There we go. So that looks like it's going okay. If I did 5 days, 20 pounds, that's 5 times 20 is 100, and then half of that would be $50, right, for that one. So it looks like it's working fine. One thing here is that if I enter some letters, though, well, we don't have JGraphSpot, but you can see entering letters in there causes all these errors and things like that. Let's see if I can locate where that is. Yeah, right here. I'm getting a number format exception, and then that is on Bordy controller handle button line 25. So looking at that, line 25 is right here, right, when I try to do these conversions. So I shouldn't really do that. So what you want to do is just, I can put a try block there. And then where I do these two conversions, right, that's what's going to cause the issue. And so, and it's number format exception on that. So what I'm going to do when that happens is that I'm just going to, inside this text area, I can put, I'm just going to put a little message to the user, just again to keep things simple, invalid input. Probably should give a better message than that, but like I said, just trying to keep this example simple. After I display that in the text area, right, I'm going to want to return, because if not, what will happen is that I'll get some possible errors down here. So you just want to return out of there. That's going to cause a problem when I go to compile, though, right? When I go to compile this, it's going to say cannot find symbol on days and weight, because now days and weight are declared inside this try block, so the scope is limited from here to here. So what I need to do to counteract that is just declare it a little bit earlier. So do double days equals 0 up here, double weight equals 0 here, and then remove the double here, so it's just an assignment statement as opposed to you're trying to declare a variable there. Okay, so that should get rid of those messages. And now when I go to run this, so 47 and can't remember what the test case was 47 pounds and 3 days. So 3 days, 47 pounds. So that looks like it's working. And then if I put some non-numeric into that first text box, you can see that it works. And if I do it in the second one, I also get that as well. Or if I clear it out completely and do that. So you can see, so it's working so far. Okay, so we're good basically all the way up to here, $70.50. Next up, it says all of the information entered by the user should be stored in the model. Remember, the model's like the data manager. So here you could argue, for an app really this simple, would you really do it that way? And so you probably wouldn't, but again, we're just kind of practicing, and I don't want the examples and problems on the exam to be too complicated. So so how would we do that? Well, what we would do is just go over here and make a new Java class, right? Public class boarding model. And we would just keep track of the information entered by the user. And so that would be the days, right? And so depending on how you want to do that, I guess we could just make it a double, unless it says otherwise. I can't remember. This is all of the information. It just doesn't say. So any numeric field is going to be okay. Double weight and then double price. Although, you know, days probably might be an int. I don't know too many places that let you charge for a fraction of a day in some business like this. But and then at the very least, right, what we would have here are some set methods: public void set days, public void set weight, and here we would do this dot days equals days. This dot weight equals weight, and price as well. Public void set price, double price. Okay, so the only data that we really have in this app are the days, the weight, and the price. And so here is just a place where we can temporarily store that, and then you can, you know, do whatever else that with this class and the data in it that you would want to. Save it someplace else, or put it in a database or something like that. So we have a place for the data to go into this, and regardless of what's going on with the controller or sort of the view part, then you know, we have a place separate that's keeping track of the data for the app there. So now what we need to do is actually use this. We're not using it at the moment, right? So how I'm going to do that is just to put a reference to it in the controller. It's really the only, the way this works, right, is the only place that we've got it set up to do that, because we are using the fxml file to inject into the controller. So we are going to make a model here, and then we'll need to use that model, right? And so to use it, what we need to do is to put the data into that when we get it. So the place to do that would be down here when we set price. Once a valid price is set, then what we can do is in the model, we would set the days to whatever days comes out to be. We would set the weight to whatever that should be, and set the price to whatever that is at the moment. All right, so that's how you would get the data from the controller or from the view, right where it's at, into the model. The controller gets it out of the view and then tells the model to store that. And there are certainly other ways we could do that, but just to, again, kind of keep things simple for this example, that's what we're going to do. And then at least the data is somewhere over here in a separate place. Okay, so there's going to be a problem with what we've done here, right? And you'll see that when we run it again. So when I run this, so going 47 pounds for 3 days, I'm going to click the button and you're going to see, right, it's going to cause a bunch of errors, right? And here you can see I get a null pointer exception, cannot invoke boarding model.setDays double because this dot model is null, okay? So our field, right, that's model field here in the controller, it never was initialized, it's null, okay? And so again, we went over this in class, but it's a place where people frequently kind of mess up. So it's kind of confusing if you weren't paying attention, right, as to how you initialize something like that. Normally, that's something that you would do in a constructor, right? But because the constructors, one of its responsibilities is to get the field set up. But that's not going to work here because of the way this thing operates. And so where you would do that is in a special method, the initialize method. And so what you would do is make a method and mark it with the @fxml tag, and it's public void initialize, and then no parameters. And this is the newer syntax. If you look across some examples, you'll see the old ones, and they have parameters and whatnot here. But if you mark it with the @fxml tag, you can just leave it like this. And then here is where you would set up your model. Model equals new boarding model. And we could have a constructor in here that did some things, but I don't really think it's necessary for this example. But this definitely is, right? This creates the model object. And so now when you call these methods, we won't get that null pointer exception. So if I go to run this, oops, that's the controller. All right, and so 47 and 3, I guess it's 3 here and 47 here. So we get $70.50. You can see it does not crash. And I guess that's it. I didn't really look at the model, so you may, if you haven't done any of the examples previously or paid attention in class and at the ones that we did, it may seem like it's really not doing anything. So if you want to just convince yourself that there's things in here, you can print out the model, right, and take a look at it. As you'd have to put a set method in here. But now the stuff that we just entered, right, will be in this model. And if we change it, right, if we change, then it changes in the model as well. It doesn't really record that all of the past. It has no history, basically. It just has the most recent calculation that we've made using this app. Okay. All right, that is it on this one.